ClickUp is a great tool. Whether you're using it for personal or for business, for a CRM, or just for simple task management, it has everything you need to do simple tasks and lists, but on overdrive. So in today's tutorial, we're gonna be doing a complete top to bottom video showing you everything you need to know about how to use ClickUp, how to effectively get the most out of it, and even if you stick around to the end of the video, show you how to set up a few automations in ClickUp. Yes, natively in ClickUp. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So the first thing it's gonna ask us here is what would we like to use ClickUp for? Work, personal, school. Now, if you don't actually know what you're using ClickUp for at this point, don't worry, it gets easier. We're just gonna pick work for now and then select what we'd like to manage. This is just so that ClickUp can give us some better expectations of what we can get, focusing on business or focusing on personal or focusing on school. And it'll custom tailor an experience for us based on what we choose. So in our case, I'm just gonna say software development. We're gonna focus on bug tracking, sprint and backlog management, and feature requests. How did you hear about us? We have the opportunity to invite people to our workspace. And then when we hit I'm done, it's gonna ask us, do we use any of these tools, which you may have seen before. And this is just so that it can give us a better experience on how we've used other tools in ClickUp. I'll skip that and hit next here. I'm gonna hit next all the way, and we're just gonna call it Josh's workspace. Next, we can go through this tutorial showing us exactly how to use ClickUp, but in our case, that's what you have me for. So I'm just gonna exit out of this, and now we're in project 1. Now, I know the interface might look a little bit overwhelming at first, so let me take you through step by step exactly what everything is. Now, starting out on the left-hand side here, we have our team space. Spaces are where all of your tasks live, and you can have customization over the space as needed. We could call this get space. We can give it a description, and we can toggle the default views, list, board, statuses, and click apps. In this case, we're gonna get to that in a bit, so I'm just gonna save changes here. And we can see that within this space, I have my different lists. Right now it's project 1 and project 2. And in addition to those two lists, visible by these list icons, we also have project notes, which are very similar to Notion boards if you've used those. We can either start writing, get a blank wiki, or add a table, column, ClickUp list, or a subpage. Now, if we wanted to use project notes, we would just simply have to click on that and start writing. Start writing. If we also do a slash, you can see here we can add tons of things like checklists, columns, ClickUp lists, normal text, headings. There's a ton of things we could actually do, and it's very similar to what you would find on tools like Notion. We could add in our own custom checklist here if I want to say film, video, edit, video, post, video. But there's also a ton of other things we can do with buttons, ClickUp lists, numbered lists, etc. You can go through this and see that there's a lot we could actually import into ClickUp here. But this is more just a simple doc. When I click into project 1, we can see that I'm now in the list view, and that's visible by the top here as it says list. We also have board view, calendar view, Gantt chart, and we also have a ton of other views available if we want to do them, such as a Kanban, a form, a timeline, and more. In our case, we're just going to go back to list where we can see our tasks already created for us. Now, by default, we have our task name, we have our assignee, so who is this assigned to? In this case, I can assign this task to myself. We have the due date, which we can set. We have the priority, urgent, high, normal, low, clear, or we could add more if we want to. We also have things like, what's the status? Right now we have to do, in progress, and complete, as well as comments. If I want to add more columns to a specific task, all I have to do is hit the button that says add a column here. And we can see that I've got things like drop downs, text, date, number, labels, etc. So let's say I want to say money, for example. I could say create, and now we have a money tab here, and all I have to do to fill it out is click on it and just type something in, so 25, or I could type in $25. Oh, it won't let me put a dollar sign in because it's only numbers. Now, by default, the easiest way to add a task is just going to the very bottom here and hitting add task. We could also do it by going to the top right-hand corner where this purple button says add task, which adds a task to this location. If we click the drop down here, we could also actually create a milestone, a form response, or a meeting note, browsing other templates to add things to this page that aren't just necessarily tasks. In our case, all we have to do is hit add task, and it'll take us into the task creation screen. So I'm going to say film and new video. I have the ability to add a description, and if I want to, I can go ahead and add all of these columns here. So for assignee, select me, due date, we can say later, priority, urgent. Any tags that we have set up, I could say reminder, just put a tag in that says reminder and say that's the tag. And then I can also add any custom fields here or create new fields. Now, these are the same as the columns as we showed earlier, where if I hit create new field here, we can see that there's a whole bunch of different options available for us. Again, I could create a number. Now, this is in task view, but I also have the ability to create a new doc, create a new reminder, create a new chat, or create a new dashboard. In our case, we're just going to do task, and unfortunately I lost what I did here, so I'll just say film, video, my description, add myself as an assignee, add a due date, increase the priority. That tag that we created earlier is now there. And we're just going to go ahead and hit create task. And once we hit create task, we can see here that it's now added to the bottom. Now, let's say that this new task I created isn't actually a full new task. Rather, it's a subtask of task 1. All I have to do to make that a subtask is take it and drag it, and you can see that it will put it underneath, and there's two different variations here. If I have it just drag like this and it's fully going across the entire bottom, that's just moving the task around. That's just reorganizing. But if I want this to actually be a subtask of task 1, all I have to do is go slightly to the right here, and you can see now it's showing that it will put that as a subtask of task 1. If I let go here, boom. That's now a subtask of task 1. And you might be wondering, why would you add subtasks to begin with? Well, the reason's actually pretty simple. If I want to go ahead and, for example, set this to be in progress, and so now this main task is in progress. You see what I just did there? I actually changed the status by clicking on this circle. And now that this is in progress, I could also set film video to in progress. Now let's say, for example, that I go and say, oh, I'm going to complete task 1. And I just close the drop down here so I don't see my subtasks anymore. And I go ahead and I hit complete task and I think, oh, task 1 is fully done. It's going to say, hey, just so you know, there's still an unresolved item. There's still a subtask. And I could say, oh, well, what's the subtask? So once I realize, oh, yes, this task does have an unresolved item, I can either hit resolve, which would make this completed. I could hit continue without resolving, which would just make this complete but make film video still incomplete. Or I could just go ahead and hit the X here and we can see that nothing happens. But oh no, how do I get back to that completed task? Well, I actually have a bunch of filters at the top right hand corner of the page where I can see specific tasks based on filters. If I hit the filter icon here, we can see that I can filter by statuses, due date, priority, assignee, etc. All different ways to view the tasks that are relevant to me at any given point. Or if I actually want to see tasks that I've already marked as closed, I just have to hit this button here that says closed. And now we can see task 1 is back. So because we never actually completed it here, it never got set to complete. So what I can do here is just simply go down and hit task 1, hit complete. It'll give me that reminder again saying this task is an unresolved item, and I'll say resolve so that it sets both of them to be complete. Now I'm just going to go ahead and hide away the closed tasks here so I can take that off. And now we can see that I'm just back to my to-do list. Now we have the complete task here, but again, if I want to hide that, all I have to do is click on this closed button and unselect this. And now we're back to our regular to-do list. Now by default, it's always going to group by status in the ascending order, but we can adjust it so that it's grouped by assignee, so that, for example, if I am an assignee on one task and somebody else is an assignee on another task, we can do it that way. I also have the opportunity to go priority, what tasks need to get done first, what tags are relevant first, when is the due date, or what is the specific task type. This flexibility allows you to set ClickUp to be the way that you want it to be, so that if you're trying to group by a specific person who's responsible for a task, you can do that. If you're just grouping by date, when is it due next, you can do that, or you could have your own custom statuses here. But what if I want to add another custom status, something that isn't to do? Well, all I have to do here is right click on the status name, and I can either rename this current existing status, I could hit new status here, or if I want to edit a bunch of statuses at once, I just hit this button that says edit statuses. And now we can see that there's a bunch here. So let's go ahead and add a new one. We're going to go ahead here and hit this button that says use custom statuses. And so now it's no longer inheriting it from the space, but we're actually creating custom statuses. And now I can go ahead and hit custom statuses. And so let's go ahead and say we got in progress to review, always one of my favorites. Another one that I like to use is with blue is blocked, or we could say red here, maybe somebody requested a new feature and we could say rejected, save, and all we have to do to apply our changes is hit this apply changes button here, and now those custom statuses are available for us. So making sure that we're grouping by status again, I can go ahead and take task 2 and say task 2 is rejected. And now it appears as its own separate status here, completely different from to do. But once again, the nice part about ClickUp is that this is non-destructive. And what that means is if I want to go ahead and filter it or group it by a different method, I could just do assignee, and there we go. And now we can see what tasks are assigned to who and what tasks are unassigned. And if I put this other task here back to me, we can see that now both tasks are visible under me. Or if I go back to grouping it by status again, we can see that it will once again break it out. We have rejected, to do, and I have the ability to once again just go ahead and change this around at any given moment. Or hit complete if it's done. If I want to go back and see that closed one, I just do that. And at any time, I can always go back and take a task from completed to another status. It's as simple as that. We also have a ton of options with our tasks. If we click these 3 dots here, we can see that there's a bunch of different options available to us. We have add a column, which is the same as just hitting this button right here. Rename, convert to, task type, duplicate, remind me, send email to task, add to, merge, move, dependencies, etc. So let's say, for example, I want to convert this from being a task to a list or a subtask. I can do that very easily, or change the task type from a task to a milestone, form response, or meeting note. I have the ability to copy the link to that task, copy the task's ID, set up a new tab, or if I really want to, just go ahead and duplicate this task. And it'll ask me, where do you want to duplicate it? What should it be called? And I could say task 3, project 1. I want to copy everything. So if I choose everything here, all comments, fields, and settings will be duplicated exactly as is. I can even copy the task activity and send notifications if I want to. I'm going to hit the duplicate button here, and we're going to see that now that task has been duplicated. So let's click into a task. If I click into a task here, we can see that I have the full overview of what the task actually looks like. In here, we can have much more information than just what is typically seen. Now, on the right-hand side here, we can see the activity. So we can see how everyone in your workspace has interacted with this particular task. In my case, we can see that at 10:41 a.m., I assigned it to me, and then I created this task by copying task 3 and copied this task. So that's the duplication process. We can see all the information about the task here, everything that we have in the statuses in the menu, and more. We also have the ability to add our description, as well as fill in some of our custom fields. And I can also write a comment. We could say duplicated task. I could then at a member of my team, for instance. In this case, I'll do brain, but I also have the ability to put in emojis, add some files, do a thumbs up, or if I want to, actually email here. Now, if I link an email, I can send out an email from directly within ClickUp without having to externally go out. And ClickUp will send whatever message I've sent to that email. So now, in this case, I'm just going to choose comment. We're going to hit send, and now we can see that that comment has been added to this task. I have the ability to go through, copy that URL, remind me in inbox, add to description, or just straight up delete the comment. And there we go. It's as simple as that. In addition to those features, ClickUp also has tons of ways for you to view all of your notifications. In the top here, we have the inbox. Now, this is going to be where all the information about any tasks comes in. So let's say, for example, that a teammate has marked a task as completed, and you're someone who's responsible for that task. You'll get notified here that they've made that change. Or let's say that in a particular task comment, somebody has gone ahead and messaged you. Let's say somebody said at me, and they added me in this comment here. To make sure that I see that, all I'd have to do is go to the inbox here and see anything. Now, in my case, I'm not going to see mine because I'm adding myself, obviously, but I would see any notifications where it's actually mentioning me. I have the ability to filter what I'm seeing, anything that's mentioning me, assigned to me, or unread. So if I say anything that's assigned to me here, and I can also see by what ClickUp deems as important, other, snoozed, or cleared. I can also customize my inbox here so that I can show all tabs, group by date, sort by newest first. I also have the ability to customize important notifications by importance. Let's say, for example, that there's one member of my team, let's say it's my boss, who I want to see every notification for. Well, I can go ahead here and go to custom importance. And as we can see here, there are a ton of different things that I can select to tell ClickUp that a specific task or a specific action is more important than another one. I also can customize my notification settings so that if I actually want to get an email when there's a new notification in ClickUp, I can do that, where I set focused. I also have browser notifications, mobile notifications, and then even integrate it into Slack or Discord or Google Docs, pretty much anything. There are a ton of notifications here. Now, this is in my actual workspace, and this is where we can see settings like people. These are all the people that I can add. Let's say I have specific team members. Inviting people is as simple as typing in somebody's email@email.com, and I can invite them to my workspace. We can also have the ability to go through and actually see all of our spaces in one given spot. Security and permissions shows what custom role permissions are needed for a specific thing. So let's say, for instance, that I wanted someone to have access to my ClickUp space, but I didn't want them to have the ability to make any adjustments to it. I just wanted them to be a viewer. Well, they could be a guest or a limited member. But let's say I wanted them to have full access, they could be a member. And let's say I wanted them to have admin access, they could be an admin. Now, this screen actually allows me to control what each of those roles does. Under my Teams tab here, I can also go ahead and create a team to actually group tasks together. So I could say Dream Team, hit save here, and now we have the Dream Team. That's our alias, and I can manually add any members to it. So let's say, for instance, that I want to have multiple different teams working in multiple different workspaces. Well, that's entirely possible. Now, remember how I mentioned earlier that there are multiple different task types? Well, by default earlier, we saw task, milestone, form response, and meeting note, but there are a ton more. We have things like accounts, assets, bugs, campaigns, content, deals, goals, initiative. You can completely customize what sort of thing you're actually tracking in ClickUp with just a few simple clicks. As a software engineer myself, I think I would like to go and add bug to my space. Now, if I go back to my workspace here and we go to Get Space and we go to Project 1, as we can see here, we have the to review. And let's say, for instance, that I want to change this from being a task to a bug. I could simply go to task type and convert to bug. And now it's got a little bug icon there. And again, to get back to the workspace, all I have to do is go to the top left here, go to settings, and we can can see everything in that workspace. And as we can see here, we have the ability to import data from all of these different apps. We also have the ClickUp API, which is allowing you to build apps using ClickUp APIs, which is a bit of a higher level thing, so we'll skip over that for today. And email integration. With the email integration, we can send email to anyone outside of ClickUp. Email replies update in real time. You can reply from here or from your normal email client. We could sign in with Google, Microsoft, an Exchange server, or with IMAP, so that it's easy to respond and send emails from either in ClickUp or just in your regular email. If you ever accidentally delete anything, there is a trash here that gets deleted after 30 days. As we can see, there are specific spaces, but there's nothing here that is too bad. Now that we've got a few tasks created, let's go ahead and go over the different views. So what we saw just here was called the list view, and that's because it looks like a list. But we also have the board view. Now we can see all of our statuses here, and moving them around is as simple as clicking and dragging. So let's say, for instance, you're someone who likes to see everything go from left to right. Well, it's very easy to add your tasks here, and then as they move along, simply drag them through. You can see it simply gets dragged. Simple as that. And the cool part is, this is just a specific view. It's not actually changing anything that you wouldn't be able to change in list. And if I actually go back to the list view, we can see the tasks are now updated based on the status changes that I made in the board view. It's going to be consistent across each view so that you wouldn't have to worry about changing a status here and not having it be visible in board view, and vice versa. We also have calendar view, which would show you specifically where the due dates reflect on the calendar. We have a Gantt chart here, which would also show us the dates. So if I went to a specific task here, let's say task 2, and I want to have my start date being Monday and go to Friday, for instance. Let's go ahead and check back here. We can see now, if I scroll over in the Gantt chart, we now have task 2 visible from Monday to Friday. And I also have the ability to extend that or shrink it as needed. I could do that with task 3 as well. Go ahead and set a date here. We'll set this one to go from Tuesday to Tuesday. And we can see here that the full Gantt chart is in view. And if I want to just create a task in this view, all I have to do is click and create a task. And once I click that, we've got our new task here. And then if I want to extend it, all I have to do is click this and drag it. And so now this is a new task right here. Move it up and completely have customization over what I'm setting in my Gantt chart, my calendar view, board, list, or more. Again, if you want to add more, there's tons of different views here available, embedding any website, Google Docs, Google Sheets, or just setting up one of these. If I wanted to do a Kanban board, all I could do is hit that, and there we go. Now we have a new custom board view. Now, if you've stuck around this long, it's time to show you a few of the cool automation tools that are natively in ClickUp. All we have to do is go to the top right here where these two things say Agents and Automate. Now, Agents is autopilot agents that offload busy work with the AI autopilot. Now, some of these features are available on the paid plan, but you also have things like weekly reports, daily reports, team stand-ups, and we can actually manage agents. The agents will automatically look through your tasks based on a predetermined set of conditions to give you whatever it is you've asked for. Automations are a much more simple version of that. They allow you to simply go ahead and create specific fields or other automations that will inform you, notify, or update if a specific condition is met. Now, let me show you how to set up a very simple automation. Let's say, for example, that under task 3, which is due on September 2nd, I want it to automatically change to review once the due date is met. Well, I could manually go ahead on this due date and change it from, in progress to review, but I don't want to do that. I want to set up an automation to do that for me. In fact, I want to set up an automation that changes any task to review when the due date is met. All we have to do is go to the top right corner here where it says automate. We can hit this button that says create automation, or we can see some of the sample ones here: assign new tasks to me, add due date soon tag, notify on task completion, and yeah, we'll turn this one on. Make sure that all new tasks are automatically assigned to me. When a new task is created, assign it to me. Yep, that sounds good. Now we can see we have the first automation here. Now, if I go and hit this add automation button, what we can do here is get our trigger and our action. So let's say for our trigger, we're gonna click on this and we're gonna say due date arrives. So we could say due date changes, due date arrives. So when the due date arrives, change the status to review. Simple as that. And that'll be effective across all tasks. So if I hit create here, now automatically that automation is in place so that when the due date arrives, the status automatically changes. This can be great so that you're not having to go through and adjust a bunch of things that really automations could do for you. What's nice about automations as well is that you don't have to come up with it all by yourself. If we go to the Browse tab here, we can see that there are tons of automations already set up for us automatically. Categories like move, when move to this location, change assignee; statuses, when status changes, then change priority; task types, when task type changes, change status; when assignee changes, then change task task type, so on and so forth. There are tons here that automatically integrate with some of your favorite tools and make it very easy to effectively manage all of your tasks within your organization. And adding new lists is as simple as going to your space, hitting this plus button here and clicking Add List, Add Doc, Add Form, Add Dashboard, Add Whiteboard, Folder, Sprint Folder from template, or just straight up importing. In our case, we'll do another list. We'll say, what's the list called? We'll say List 3, simple list. I can choose whether to make this list private so that only myself and invited members have access, use a template if I want to have a template already set up the list for me, or just hit create. And now we can see that list 3 is created. We can choose our list settings so that we have default task types, default views, etc. We'll say no thanks. And now we have a simple list here. Now with our statuses, we can either start from scratch or import it directly, and there's tons of options for us as we just went through. Finally, here on the home screen, we can see everything that's happening in our ClickUp spaces. We can see what tasks have been assigned to me, what's happening on the agenda today, anything recent that's been adjusted, anything for my work that's to do, done, or delegated, and we have the ability to manage this all and change it to make it our own. So there you go. Hopefully I give you all the tips and tricks that you need to get started using ClickUp, figuring out how to use it for your own organization or just for you personally. You can add tasks, add lists, change the way that they're visible, and add all of your information related here to keep you staying prioritized and staying efficient. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. My name is Josh Mountain, and I'll see you in the next one.